Hi, this is Elizabeth from craftsbyhappystamper.com. I posted this box, and I could see a little pearl moved, on my blog a few days ago, and I got lots of requests for a video on how to put it together, so I'm going to just show you the basics. Normally I do a voiceover, but I'm trying to get this done really quick, so I'm going to talk you through how to put it together and with the dimensions, and the dimensions are also written in the description box below, so you don't have to write them down quickly if you don't want to, or you can stop the video. But you could see that I covered the entire thing with DSP, which is the way I like it. So the mats that I give you are, for the way I did it, but, it's up to you if you want to do it. I also, normally I would put an extra mat here, but I forgot on my example. But you couldn't tell in my photos because, you never show this in the photos. But this is how I connected the spine that opens like this. So it is important that you realize that that's there. And then you could put a mat that's the same size as that one on the bottom to cover up the spine. But all right, let's get started. So first I used watercolor paper because it's much sturdier than regular cardstock. This is, I think, 140 pound or maybe 100 pound. I'm not exactly sure, but it's much thicker. So this is the card box base is 5 5/8. I'm sorry. The card box base is 8 7/8 by 7 5/8, and then I scored all four sides at 1.5 inches. So to put the base together now, this you just do it your favorite way, but I cut up the score marks both, and then I'm creating just a little triangle, and this makes it so that I can fold it when I attach this to create the box, that it will fold really snugly and create a perfect 90-degree angle. Now if you're like extremely accurate on your score mark and where you cut, then you don't need to make a diagonal because it will already fold at an exact perfect 90-degree angle, but it's virtually impossible to do that by hand. So I'm doing everything, the same thing to all four flaps. And this box is actually, it looks complicated, and I think it gives a big wow factor to the recipient, but it's extremely simplistic to make, so that's what makes it awesome. Now, I've heard that maybe Split Coast Stampers also has a tutorial, but I did not learn from them. My friend Brenda showed me how to make it, and I changed her dimensions because I wanted it to be able to fit cards in it. Sorry about that. I hope you couldn't hear that. That was my cat getting sick in the background. Aren't pets lovely? So I cut a diagonal at all four, and then I just folded on the crease marks. And you can see I'm going to put these together like this, and it's going to form a perfect box. So now I'm going to add score tape or peel and tear and tape adhesive, whatever you prefer to use. I like to put 2 pieces on. I want my box to be extremely strong, be adhered. As I said previously, I did change the dimensions of my box to what Brenda showed me, so I don't know if Brenda's dimensions were from Split Coast or not, but I wanted my box to close completely, one. Hers didn't close completely, it had a little gap. And I also wanted my box to fit a set of cards as a gift. So mine fits envelopes and cards. And I'm not sure if, I don't think hers did, but we'll see. Okay, so once you get all the tape on there, just rip it off. Rip off the release paper and adhere it at as perfect a 90-degree angle as you can get. You can see on the inside I wrote the mat base for this is 5 5/8 by 4 3/8, and you would need 2 of those if you want to do the top and the bottom. And then the mats for these, you need 4, because 1, 2, 3, 4, right, would be 5 5/8 by 1 1/4. And then for this side, you actually need 8 of them because you need 4 for the bottom of the box and 4 for the lid. So that's 8 total, and they are 4 3/8 by 1 1/4. And because I'll be covering them up with DSP, I just wrote right on the watercolor paper, you know, it's not going to bother me at all because you won't be able to see it once I finish. I'm not going to do all the decorating in this video. I'm just going to show you how to put it together and give you all the dimensions, because I want it to be this video to be short and sweet. And if you follow my blog, you know that I am interviewing next week in San Diego for a job I really want, and I want to study and practice as much as possible. So there we go. That is the base of the box. It's put together. Ta-da! And I can prove to you that an envelope fits nice in there. See, envelopes fit in there. This is just a regular A2 envelope. I think it came with a paper pumpkin previously or something. I don't know. But you could see it fits perfectly in there. Alright, so now we can set this aside and we can work on the lid. Now you need 2 pieces like this. They start out at 7 5/8 by 4 1/2 inch. And you score just on 3 of the sides at 1 1/2 inches. And then I used a pencil and I marked a 1/2 inch from this score line to here and from this score line to here on both sides. And then I used my trimmer to cut a diagonal. And the reason why you want to measure and not just freehanded is so that these are all exactly the same size, and it's easier to cut DSP to make it pretty. So I did all except for one side so I could show you. I'm just lining up the tick marks in my trimmer. And then I can close, whoops, it slipped. And then I can cut it off with my trimmer. And, you know, I don't have to worry about this showing because it's pencil. I can just erase it, right? It's definitely easier to erase if you do it now while it's flat than if you wait until it's put together. Just an FYI. I know from personal experience. And look, I have like writing all over this for some reason. So I'm erasing those now. All right, so I got 2 pieces that look exactly the same. And let's see, you need 4 mats for this piece. This is going to be what's on the top. And they are 4 3/8 by 2 3/4, right? These pieces I've already showed you. Now, how do you mat these parts? I just took a piece of scrap watercolor paper. Here's a piece of scrap watercolor paper. I flipped it over. And you see how it's just a little bit short? That's fine because you don't want it to, you know, you want it to fit nicely. Just flipped it over, and then I took a pencil and I drew a line like this. Now they're all going to be the same, right? So this is just my template. You can use your trimmer to cut a straight line if you want, but I'm just going to use my scissors. And I'm cutting on the trying to cut on the inside of the line because, as I said, you know, I want it to be a little bit smaller than the piece. There we go. And this I will just store with my template box for future use. But you can make a new one every time if you wish. So now we have to make our lids. So now I'm cutting up this diagonal to there. Up the straight line to there. It's not a diagonal, right? And then I'm going to cut a little flap. But I just want to do this one side, because I want the other side to look normal. Right? Okay, now I'm going to add tape. This time I'm putting tape there and tape here. You have to do a little extra trimming on this one because of the fancy sides. So now I'm going to fold, crease all my creases, all my score marks, right? Okay. So now I'm going to take this off. There we go. So now I'm going to take my scissors and just trim this extra piece off. There we go. And You know, you could do it a little bit on the inside. It doesn't matter. You're going to cover up the inside with DSP also, so it doesn't matter how exact it is or not. It's up to you. Okay. Now we'll just repeat on the other side. If I can get the release paper off. There we go. Okay. There we go. As I said, I'm just going to cut at a diag. Cut that off. There we go. And we have half of it. Half of it done. So there's half. It fits pretty snugly, which I like. You could change the dimensions if you don't like it. But even though it fits snugly, I want to make a spine to help it open, right? So to make the spine, I have it here somewhere. Here it is. Okay, it's easiest if you start with a piece of 4" by 2" watercolor paper. It's just a scrap piece of paper, right? And then I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch on the long side. And then I'm going to flip it 180 degrees and score it at a 1/2 inch again. Okay, so now it looks like this. And then I'm going to cut it at 1 inch down the center so that I have 2 spines. And to me, it's just easier to score a 1/2 inch on a small piece if you do it like this. There we go. Now I have 2 spines, right? And we're just going to go like this. So one is going to go on the inside here. And you're going to cover this up with DSP so it doesn't matter, right? And then this is going to attach to the bottom here. So you can use glue or tear and tape adhesive. I am a fan of tear and tape adhesive, so that's what I'm going to use. You want to make sure it's creased really well before you put it on, because it's a little harder to get it to crease once you put it together if you wait. But whatever adhesive you use, you just want to make sure it's a really strong adhesive. And then we're going to attach this to the bottom here. You know, I made the spine a little smaller than the width just because it makes it easier for me, but it's up to you if that's what you want to do or not. And then I think it's easiest to go ahead and put the lid on completely like this. And then, well, it probably would have been easier to go ahead and put the tape on first, but, and then release the release paper on the back. So once you have this completely on, nice and snug, then you can release the release paper and put it down. And that's it. So you got one side done. Now I will do the other side too if you want, but first I will take my example. You know, this is the template I said, right, for this piece. And you can see that it lines up pretty nicely. Look, you can see in the side with my template, it's a little longer than I want it. So I'm just going to snip off a little bit. Try that again. Just because I want a nice border, and that's perfect for me. So that looks perfect for me. Okay. So how do you do this? If you want them to line up perfectly so that this is one way, these, like if this is a pattern and you want them to line up perfectly, then the easiest way to do that is to take some paper, like this. See, this has an obvious pattern to it. It's directional. But just this is a 90-degree angle, so you should just be able to put this up in the corner, like that, right? You can, I don't know if this piece of scrap paper is actually long enough for this example. And then flip this upside down for the other side. It's not long enough, of course. Not long enough for that example. Okay, let's try this piece of scrap paper. So we'll go the other way with this directionality. Okay, so it's probably hard to see on the video, but I just made a pencil line. And this one goes on the other side. And now, you can see my pencil lines, right? And now if I just use my scissors or my trimmer, whichever way you prefer, and cut it out, when you put this on the side of the box, it's going to line up perfectly because you kept the directionality of the paper across both sides. And you'll need 2 sets of these, one for each side of it, right? Okay. So now I'm just going to finish this other one. As I said, all the dimensions and all the DSPs are written in the the mats are written in the description, so, or you can stop the video when you wish. Just wanted to show you quickly how this is done. And as I showed you before, this box will fit a set of cards and envelopes perfectly. So if you forgot to make your template, you can still do it at this time. You can take another piece of scratch paper, watercolor paper, put it in there, draw a line, and remember you want to cut on the inside of the line you draw so that it's a little bit smaller, right? So I just wanted to show you that my lids meet perfectly in the center. I don't have the, the seam on this one yet, right? But this one I do. But they fit perfectly in the center. And you can go like that. So that's the same thing as this. And you see my 2 bindings on the side. And there you go. Whoops. They fit perfectly in the center. This is the Lots of Labels framelits. This is the Sassy Salutation stamp set. And this is the Botanical Builders Thinlit dies to build these if you want to. Copy this, and all the supply lists are on the blog post that's linked in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so also. Thanks for joining me.